ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यभिमहायोगीव यस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Verse 20. ब्रह्म यद्यपि शास्त्रेषु प्रत्यक्त्वेनैव वर्णितं महावाक्यैस्तथाप्येतत् दुर्बोधमविचारिणः. The first 12 verses of this chapter, chapter 9. So Vidyaranya talked about a Sambadi Visambadi Brahma existing in our perception or inference. Examples of perception, examples of inference, where this Brahma is present. The Brahma, the error you commit, accidentally turns out to be a blessing. He gave example. And then example from the Shastra also he gave, where deliberately you commit an error and ultimately it turns out to be a blessing for you. Anyway, in order to get the advantage only you commit that error. Okay, so this is first 12 verses. And then he, from 13 to 29 now, is establishing the candidate for this and context for this Nirguna Brahma Upasana. You talked about Samvadi Brahma, now you are talking Nirguna. Samvadi Brahma, well, means which is the basis for Nirguna Brahma Upasana. Aham Brahmasmi Upasana, we discussed. So you repeat, it is Brahma for you. You think you are not Brahman. I mean, you are not convinced. Still the knowledge has not taken place, that kind of a thing you have. Anyway, so then, well, do this. If you have a Samvadi, this will be a Samvadi Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi is a Brahma, but you repeat, which is called Nirguna Brahma Upasana, will turn out to be beneficial to you. You will accept that I have a knowledge that I am Brahman. That's a Samvadi. So verse 13 to 29, he discussed a context and the candidate for this Nirguna Brahma Upasana. And while discussing that, well, he showed that there are certain Vedantic students who have got this Paroksha Jnanam of Brahman by studying the Avantar Vakya of Vedanta, or means Mahavakya has not been studied, or Mahavakya has been studied but not properly studied, or Mahavakya has been taught to you properly, but due to obstacles you have not understood properly. So then if it is not understood properly, then so there is some obstacle. Obstacle could be anything. Drashta or Adrishta Pratibandha. That Vidyaranya does not discuss what kind of a Pratibandha. There is Pratibandha, that's it. Drashta Adrishta Pratibandha is there, And then definitely due to that, Mahavakya has not done the job properly for you. Yeah, because there are other people in the class and they are able to understand. And they consequentially they will say, yes, I am Brahman, I know. Then you are, then so you have owned up the village, I mean the Jnanam. So well, in owning up well, because this error is I am committing again and again. I am body, etc. Well, I'm in the process, contemplation, etc. So for some people it is knowledge. The teacher is one, teaching is also one, but some people still say, well, we have not, I have not gained the knowledge of Brahman. Others says, I have gained the knowledge of Brahman. So there is a pratibandha. And so one who has a pratibandha will say what? Yes, he has been exposed to teaching. So he says Brahmasti. This is called Parokshanya. Brahmasti. But Brahmasmi he is not able to say. He doesn't want to say. So this is all Brahmasti, etc. Parokshajnanam also gained through Shastra only. And Nirguna Brahma Jnanam, but Parokshajnanam. And so, well, we will call it as a knowledge. We will not call it as a Brahman. Even though Brahman is a Paroksha, immediate, Brahman doesn't require any evidence, proof. Only one thing doesn't require any proof, and that is you. You don't require any proof. You are the one who searches for the proof, need not be proven. Okay? Therefore, this is a big thing. Please understand these vakyas. In order to gain a fulfillment through the knowledge, certain vakyas, certain words regarding Brahman has to be dwelt again and again. Like self-evident, self-existent. Generally, these are the words we swallow without much understanding, but that is where everything is lying. Self-existent, self-evident, self-illumining, Swayam Prakash, Swayam Jyotihi, etc. Swatas Siddha. So we just gloss over. That is the place where you have to pay attention. Understanding Swayam Siddha, Atma is Swayam Siddha, you will become free from the fear of death. That's it. The biggest thing. By one word. Self-existent. Self-existent means self is self-existent. Means what? It exists on its own. Means what? It doesn't have a dependent existence. If it does not have a dependent existence, its existence is not caused by another thing. Well, means what? Means what? It remains existent forever. Unlike world. Unlike world. World does not exist on its own. World exists on account of the observer. Consciousness, basically. So this is a big thing. Because nature is existence. What is existence by nature can never become non-existent. Then cannot have a death. That is timeless. That is non-changing. So many things. So please, with two hands, please, certain words, unfortunately they come again and again. And that is how we have developed a tendency to gloss over. What comes again and again, we don't pay much attention. But that is the place. That is the place. Please pay attention. This is my earnest request to you. Whenever you are free, please pay attention to this. If fear goes away, that is samsara. Fear of death, fear of old age, fear of this change, modifications, all this will go away. One word, self-existent. Anyway, this is just by the way. So point is, here, this person has not understood due to some obstacle, drashta, etc. So, since this knowledge, has been gained from, of course, Vedanta Vakya, so-called Brahmasti, etc. Means Adresham, Agraham, Chakshushrotram, This is just by the way, while I was reading this in the morning, I got one more thing I thought I should share with you. Even though any sentence which any sentence which describes Brahman, well, we can extend it to the self, and thereby identity between the self and Brahman can be established. But basically, it is not Mahavakya. Mahavakya means Shastra tells a clear identity between the two. Please. But even if Shastra does not say I can extend, that is not fair. It's not fair. That's not fair. How do you extend it? How do you extend up to the self? And if you can extend like this, then you would have gained the knowledge before itself. But ultimately, through Shastra, which has established the identity, now you are on your own, you can extend. That's another thing. But Mahavakya is basically where clear-cut disposition of an identity between the two. That we have to keep in mind. Adresham agraham achakshushrotram tadapani padam bhutayonim, etc. So that also, or any other thing. Ashabdam asparsham arupam asam arasam nityam agandavat, etc., etc. So these all vakyas reveal that there is a Brahman, which is not available for perception, not available for inference, etc. Anyway, so, but it is, even though this Avantar Vakya gives you knowledge of Brahman, well, Parameshwara. So but it is Shastra Vakya, so we say it is a Jnana. Really speaking, the identity reveals that Brahman is oneself. That is aparoksha, etc. Immediate in the form of I, etc. Well, so that is the real nature of Brahman. That is aparoksha, immediate, which doesn't require evidence, etc. On account of which everything is evident. Due to Atma is evident, and therefore everything is evident to the self ultimately. Self is self-evident. So basically this Jnanam is not Brahma. That is what he argued. In fact, in the 7th chapter, in between verse 51 to 55, it was raised, this question was raised that paroksha jnanam of a aparoksha vastu cannot be there. Jnanam means aparoksha vastu is aparoksha, Brahman is aparoksha, one should gain aparoksha jnanam. That if you understand aparoksha vastu as aparoksha, that is jnanam. If you understand aparoksha vastu as a paroksha, then it is Brahma. That kind of an argument was done. A question was raised in the 7th chapter, and Vidyaranya gave 4 arguments there in order to negate that it is not a Brahma, it is Jnana, etc. We are not going into that, but just I am reminding you. And I told you it's on in verse number, 51 to 55 in chapter 7. Anyway, so parokshamapi tajjnanam, in verse 19 at the end he said, parokshamapi tajjnanam tattva jnanam. Tattva jnana means it is a knowledge, it's not erroneous knowledge. Natu brahmaha, that's what he said. And then in verse 20, well, he said that aim of Vedanta, of course, is not a paroksha jnanam. It will not liberate the person. So through Mahavakya, Shastra wants to convert paroksha jnanam into aparoksha jnanam in the form of I. So once you understand the identity that Brahman, which is free, which is timeless, which doesn't have any limitation of time, space, or any attributes, it doesn't have any limitation of any attributes, definitely that Brahman which is free is I. That's aparoksha jnanam. Then you will say I am free. So that is moksha. So you need definitely a aparoksha jnana of those things. But now we were discussing, even we stopped at durbodham avicharina. That's where I am now focusing. So in spite of efforts by the Shastra teachers, etc., well, a student is not able to raise his level from ahankara to the Brahman, etc. So that's how Vidyaranya says, avicharinaha durbodha. So in verse 20 he says that. So if student is not efficient in terms of this, because due to some obstacle. So aparoksha jnanam is only possible when Shravanam is complemented by Manana. That is why in Mundaka Upanishad very beautifully said while describing the result of the knowledge, Vidyate Hridaya Granthi Chidyante Sarva Samshaya. Sarva Samshayaha Chidyante. All the doubts are resolved. See, the Shravanam will resolve three doubts. First thing is, when you come initially, when somebody tells you that you, in order to gain moksha, in order to make yourself free, you should listen to Shastra. A doubt can arise in your mind that I want to be free, and for that my own experiences are sufficient. Why should I pay attention outside? Ultimately, I want to be free. I is here. Why should I pay attention outside? My own experiences, can help me to make me free. There is no need of Shastra. That's the first doubt. Shravanam can resolve this doubt. That because when you listen, you will find that yes, even though the means of knowledge are available to me, like a pratyaksha and anumana, etc. Pratyaksha means a perception, experience of everything, but that is pratyaksha and anumana can definitely give me knowledge pertaining to the non-self, but not to the self, or not of the self. And anumana also definitely is based on a pratyaksha, requires a certain data of the pratyaksha of Atma. Well, therefore, that also cannot help. And therefore, one's own means of knowledge, one's own experiences are not enough to gain Atma Jnana. So, you need an external means of knowledge. So, that doubt will go away. That why should I pay attention externally to gain knowledge of the self? I myself is sufficient, my own experience is sufficient, my own means of knowledge are sufficient. Why should I take help of a Shastra, etc.? So, this is a doubt pertaining to the Shastra itself resolved when you do Shravanam. And that's how they call Pramanagata Samshaya. The second doubt is, okay, Shastra gives the knowledge of the self. Now I accept, okay. Now second doubt is, well, okay, Shastra gives knowledge, and therefore, and definitely through teacher only you know all this. So then you ask a teacher, okay, I will invest my time in studying all these things, and but you first prove that if I study this, I will definitely gain Atma Jnana. Shastra gives Jnanam, that's fine, but you first give me a guarantee card that I study, then I gain a Jnana. Whether I will be able to gain Jnanam through Shastra or not, that's another doubt. That's all the pertaining to Shastra. Please understand this. So then, then teacher says, that's the only way that you study, and then that doubt will go away. Any means of knowledge, whether it generates a knowledge or not, for that you have to operate that means of knowledge. There is no other way. And therefore, to whether your eyes are able to see colors and forms or not, what will you do? You have to open your eyes and see. And if it is they are not able to see, well, you say my eyes are not capable of giving me knowledge of colors and forms. But you have to open. Without opening, if you ask a guarantee card from the eye surgeon or anybody, eye specialist, that please, then only I will open the eyes. First you give me a guarantee, then it is not going to work. So anyway, this doubt, how the Shravanam can be effective, I am telling you this. So so you have to expose yourself to the teacher. That's the second doubt will resolve now. Definitely will gain Jnana. Then the third doubt is, okay, so Shastra is required, means of knowledge is required to gain Atma Jnanam. My own experiences, etc., my own means of knowledge are not sufficient, first. Second thing is, Shastra, if you study the Shastra, Shastra gives the knowledge. You have to operate that means of knowledge. Second. Okay, third is, what is the purport of the Shastra? Shastra teaches regarding the self, Brahman. What is the topic, main topic, what is the purport of Shastra? That doubt also is there. That's the biggest doubt. And then, well, Shastra may be teaching that the individual and the Parameshwara are different, or the individual is a part of Ishvara. And this Brahman which is described, you say it is all pervading, but Vishishtadvaitin says Brahman is all pervading but residing in the Vaikuntha. How can all pervading resides in the Vaikuntha? So they are laughing at us. All pervading thing can reside in Vaikuntha. Why not? So then they give example like a king sits in a palace, but his rule pervades. He pervades, means as a ruler he pervades entire kingdom. So the government sits in Washington. All the presidents and all they are sitting in Washington, one place. But the rule of government spread all over the United States. Even the smallest village, there the government is present in form of its rule. And therefore Brahman also, that's how Vishishtadvaitin argues. Brahman is all pervading, don't teach us. We know all pervading. All pervading Brahman stays in Vaikuntha only. But his rule, his grace pervades entire creation, entire world. World is his body. And and that is Satyam, body. So it pervades the world. World is not Mithya. Who says world is Mithya? World is Satyam. Brahman is also Satyam, Parameshwara. And these jivas which are there in this creation, they are all parts of that Brahman, Amsha, etc. Now you have heard this. They say, well, we ask the teacher who says like this, from where you got? He says, from Upanishad only. Then you meet Muktatma or anybody, and they say, Jiva is Jivo Brahmaiva na aparaha. Na aparaha. Oh. Jiva is Brahman. Totally identical. Not Amshamshi. How do you know, O Muktatma? Well, from the Upanishad. What is the purport of Upanishad? Jiva is different from Parameshwara, Brahman, or Jiva is part of Brahman, or Jiva and Brahman are identical, and they are different is purely a notion, born of ignorance of oneself. What? What is the truth? So then, this Tatparya Linga, etc., you know very well. So I'm just recollecting for you here all this kind of doubts. This doubt also pertaining to the purport also resolves. Is all when these three doubts are resolved, then you say my Shravanam is effective. Yeah. And then Mananam. Now Mananam means Pramegata Samshaya. Pramegata means what? Okay, Shastra is sufficient. I don't have any doubt. Any Upanishad book reveals this Brahman, whole Advaitam, non-dual Brahman. Okay, no doubt. But I have a doubt. What? I don't feel that I am Brahman. Shastra, I don't have a doubt that what Shastra says now. But I don't feel that I am that non-dual Brahman. I am whole. Non-dual means whole. I am whole. I don't feel. All this I discussed today itself, so that's how it is there in the mind to share with you. Really. In the Gujarati class, Drugdashya Vivek. Therefore, I don't feel that I am Brahman. Pramegata samshaya. That's a doubt. Whether I am that whole, I have so many limitations and this and that. So well, then you explain again, teacher explains again all things with the reasoning that you are whole, etc., etc. Brahman, that is whole, which is you. There is no you without being whole, and there is no wholeness without including you, etc., etc. And still he says, well, I don't feel. Then once that kind of a question comes, then no reasoning works. Anywhere feeling comes, reasoning won't work. Because feel. Yeah. Means, then Swamiji, what is to be done? Hey, do Shravanam again. Hey? What are you talking? I have done Shravanam enough. You have not understood Brahman. How can you say? I am saying I have understood Brahman, but that Brahman is not me, that kind of feeling I have. Any feeling is Brahman. Okay? The feeling that you say that I have a feeling that I am not Brahman, that is Brahman. Do you know that Brahman? No. Go back. Okay? Any feeling is Brahman. Anything is Brahman. Therefore, your feeling that I am Brahman also is Brahman. Your feeling that I am not Brahman, that is also Brahman. You not understanding properly, this kind of a doubt can arise. Or you have understood from the class and went out, and yes, that Shastra says you are Brahman, fine, but then you go to your room, your place, and then you start browsing in YouTube, and you found one teacher with millions of followers, with one video have a 1 lakh views, and he says Atma is non-existent, shunyam. That's it. And you come back. Swamiji, you said Atma is existence. He says Atma is non-existent. You say Atma is whole. He says Atma is zero. And Swamiji, he cannot be wrong. He is such a big person. Millions of people are following him. Then again I explain Atma is self-existent and this and that. Then again he listens that. Then he says, Swamiji, what you say also is right. You are very reason. These Vedantis are arguing a lot. So with reasoning you are proving I am whole, etc. But Swamiji, but he cannot be wrong. He is such a big person. So let us accommodate. It means Atma is zero also, and Atma is everything also. Atma is nothing, and Atma is everything. How will you accommodate? You want to be broad-minded. You cannot. You cannot accommodate an error. Definitely not. 1 plus 1 is 2. Puja Swamiji's example. And 1 plus 1, 3. Swamiji, let us accommodate that person who says 1 plus 1 is equal to 3. Cannot. You can definitely accommodate a person who commits an error. You cannot accommodate an error. Error, because where the question of knowledge comes, there 1 plus 1 is 2. That is the right. Person, you can explain to that person that 1 plus 1 is not equal to 3, but still suppose he says no, 1 plus 1 is 3. Okay. This earth, basically, Bhagavan has given this universe a place to live and breathe for everyone. And therefore, basically, you accommodate the person with the error. That's a possible, but not the error as such. Anyway, and then, someone says, Swamiji, what he says is, then I asked him, how can Atma is Shunyam? He said, Shunyam means it is not available for perception, not available for inference, it is not available for any objectification, and it is free from all attributes. That is Shunyam. Free from attributes, free from objectification, free from form, free from everything. That is what we call Shunyam. Wow. Then I said, wow, wonderful. Oh, it means their Shunyam and our Brahman, Nirgunam, they are equal. Okay. Then Swamiji, will you use word Shunyam in your class? Yes, I will use. Will that person, your big shot, will use Nirgunam Brahma in place of Shunyam? Please ask. And he went and asked. Sometime, just for the sake of saying, instead of words Shunyam, will you say Nirgunam Brahma? No way. Then why did you say that Shunyam is not equal, Shunyam is equal to your Nirgunam Brahma? Why did he say like that? Sometimes you say word water is enough, sometimes you say word aqua is enough. You can use, why not? But if they insist not that we will always, we will only use the word shunyam, will never use the word nirgunam brahma, that means it is simply a cheating. This is all pramegata samshaya. What Shastra says, you don't have a doubt. But regarding the subject matter of the Shastra, the topic of the Shastra, that is Brahman, you have still doubts. That goes by Mananam. Therefore, Shravanam basically is complemented by Mananam. Mananam is complemented by Shravanam. Means they reinforce each other, and therefore they both should help in Mahavakya of doing the job. But because of some problem, avicharinaha, some students cannot do this mananam on their own. And therefore Shravanam won't work fully. And therefore, and why is such a situation? Well, because initially the orientation, we discussed also, initially the orientation was a project of the person, a primary project of the whole humanity is improving the anatma, improving the non-self, either by a religious methods or non-religious method, but you definitely want to improve the body, the mind, senses. What is there you don't want to accept. You want to bring some change for the purpose of betterment. And therefore, well, definitely, if such a orientation is there, then this Mahavakya, you are everything, you are whole, you are complete. You don't need any other thing for the fulfillment other than knowing yourself, etc. won't work, will not work. So, and this anatma, the non-self, could be in the form of a mind, body, senses, even the possessions also, wealth and other things, even family also. So that is how our whole mind all the time during a waking state is oriented towards improvement of oneself in terms of body, mind, sense complex. And such a person, when he listens to Shastra due to Punya, etc., he will not understand this Mahavakya completely. And how will I know that I also have the same project of improving? Well, that is very simple. The Acharya says here that, when you go to the bed in the night and you see what your mind chatters, what your mind, what comes out in your mind when you become free. Go to the bed, suppose in the night, what comes to your mind? When you get up in the morning, what comes to your mind? Well, definitely from there we can understand that our mind is totally oriented towards improving this non-self. Improving non-self as non-self, that Shastra allows. That Shastra allows. Improving the non-self, taking it as the self, then only you need improvement. Then definitely that's a wrong thing. Anyway, so such a person, who has this kind of project, when it comes to Vedanta, then it's entirely a different thing. Here it is not an improvement of this body, mind, sense complex. That kind of project we don't have. Vedanta has an altogether different project of falsification of the body, mind, sense complex. Vedanta has one project of falsification of the non-self, and the samsari has one project that is improving the non-self. Non-self means body, mind, sense complex. He takes it as a self. So anyway, and therefore, and why Vedanta wants to make us withdraw from that? Because that will never work. I said you, any kind of an improvement if you do, and you bring in alignment, the body, mind, senses and everything, and by that you want to say, well, I am now fulfilled person, I am free from all the limitations, lack, etc., any kind of a lack, well, that day never comes. So that is how one has to understand that is simply a waste of a time. You can definitely say from today, from previous I mean, from the past, now in the present, I have definitely improved, you can say. But still, you are in a process of improving. That is called samsara. A life of becoming, life of improving all the time. And that keeps on, that will always remain. Life after life, it will always remain. Therefore, better understand that this is all non-self and that is false also. It is false. It is non-self and you are self and they are also equally real. No, no, no. It is just false thing. So Vedanta has a falsification of the body, mind, sense complex. That is the project. And this person has a project of improving body, mind, sense complex. So such a person, when he gets exposed to Vedanta, he doesn't understand this Mahavakya, etc. properly. Anyway, so, and this falsification of anatma, etc., well, body, mind, sense complex, and other things, which are the objects of ahankara and mamakara, all well definitely falsification should be done with the help of a Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, etc. So as long as this project, of course, is dominant, well, we can definitely say ahankara is a dominant, because you don't improve them as non-self, you improve them as the self. So you place the I sense in the body, mind, sense complex, means that is ahankara, that is dominant. And then, well, even during Shravanam of this teaching, that ahankara remains dominant. And to such a person, when Mahavakya tells that you are everything, etc., you don't need any improvement, you are already improved, etc., well, it doesn't work. So because his aham is definitely ahankara, and therefore equation fails. So Vidyaranya says aham brahmasmiti, that is this kind of a aham brahmasmi, that kind of a vakya, well, is not an equation for such a person, is not a fact for the person, is not a knowledge for the person. Then definitely, well, such person asks that I don't have a knowledge, we don't surprise. But still he can convert this aham brahmasmi vritti into a jnana vritti by the upasana, because he knows he is ahankara. I mean, he is an individual. That becomes a locus alambanam, and on that he can superimpose Brahman and he can say aham brahmasmi. I mean, he can repeat this vritti, aham brahmasmi. So it is not a jnana vritti, but it is a imagination vritti, and that is we call as a nirguna brahma upasana. So that's how it says here, avicharina durbodha. Such a student who can't effectively see into this equation as a fact, Mahavakya, etc., well, durbodha, they don't gain the knowledge, they fail. Verse 21. Dehadhyatmatva viprantau jagratyam nahatat puman brahmatmatvena vijnatum kshamate mandaditvatah. What we have discussed, that idea Vidyaranya presents now in a nutshell. So dehadi atmatva vibhrantau. Dehadi atmatva, this deha, mana, buddhi, etc., and the senses, etc., well, and other things also you can include, family and wealth, etc. All these things, dehadi atmatva vibhranto. Well, definitely you take them as a atma, that is a vibhranti, that is a brahma. And so they become, all this, deha becomes a object of ahankara. And mind also becomes an object of ahankara. Means you place the I sense in that. And senses, etc. And outside the things like family and the money, etc. Well, they are the objects of mamakara, extension of ahankara. So they are vibhranto. Taking them as a self is a misconception. Their condition determine actually my status, well, and such person also is struggling to become free, because that is the innate desire in a person. Everyone wants to be free ultimately. So he is also trying at a level of ahankara, a level of ahankara is trying to be free. But then his mukti will be of a different type. Definitely, I expect to have all this body mind sense complex in ideal condition, no limitations, etc. And then, well, I can claim I am free. So it's a conditional. Mukti, the moksha, is an event for such a person, and it's a conditional, because providing once this all body, mind, etc., everywhere he has placed the I sense, and he is aware of they are all objects of I, and he is aware of all these conditions of the body, mind, senses, and everything, and even mamakar also. When then definitely, and since he is aware of the limitations also, therefore he wants to get rid of the limitations of this ahankara and mamakara, and well, that is, and he wants to become free. It's a conditional freedom basically, and that day never comes. It comes actually. It comes for a moment. That's what we call moment of a joy, where even as an individual, you don't have a sense of any limitation. That's we call as a experience of a joy or a happiness. That remains for few minutes, and then again, same sense of limitation, lack, etc., appear again, because you have identified with them, and they are always limited, etc. And therefore, so mukti as an event comes, as an experience comes, but not permanently. So, I mean, it is a vibranti. Basically, this is all a misconception. Even mukti also becomes a misconception for him. Then my primary objective will be definitely is improving the anatma. And where these misconceptions are there in a mind, they are all alive in the mind. So it says jagratyam, so mithyatvam of this anatma is missed naturally. So when they are all dominating, and you equate yourself with that, and your judgment about yourself is also based on that. So therefore it is jagratyam is they are all alive, they are all real for you. Where Shastra talks that it is all mithya basically. In fact, in any vritti, when you say when I am body, one sees I as Brahman, and body is non-separate from the I. That is, so any vritti, bodham prati, any cognition, he always pays attention to this invariable factor, the consciousness, the Brahman, the limitless consciousness, which is invariable, which is present all the time. So that is a Vedantin. Means he considers himself as a free. He is not waiting as an event to become free, etc. Whereas the person who is ahankara is predominant, who has placed the I sense in the body mind sense complex, which is a misconception, of course. Well, he has to wait for the freedom, because the day never comes where the body becomes free from limitation, mind becomes free from the limitations, the senses become free from limitation. No. Even pranas, hunger, thirst. So, such a person listens to a class, puman, vignatum nakshamate. Such an individual, well, can't claim from his heart that brahmatvena, well, that I am ever free Brahman. And even if he claims, his conscious mind definitely questions himself. Are you really free? And then he says no. For the sake of saying I am saying I am free. So then nothing to worry. Well, whatever you know about this Brahman, which is Paroksha Jnanam, well, take that and do avrutti. It is not a reality for you, it is a Brahma, but it will be a Samadhi Brahma. You will definitely, your Brahma gets converted into knowledge, and you will say, I am Brahman, Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Brahman. So, Puman Brahmatvena Vignatum Nakshamate. Mandadhitvatah, because basically he has not understood Vedanta properly. Anatma improvement, Vedanta is meant for not improving the Anatma. Vedanta is meant for falsification of the Anatma. Verse 22. Brahmamatram suvigneyam shraddhalo shastadarshinaha aparokshadvaita buddhihi parokshadvaita buddhyanut. So Vidyaranya says, well, even though Brahman, aparoksha jnanam is impossible for such a person, but paroksha jnanam, brahmasti, etc., well, he accepts because he has been exposed to this teaching, and so he doesn't have that reservation of accepting that there is Brahman. Well, Brahma Asmi, well, there he has a reservation. His intellect is not ready due to some obstacle. So, he says, this person is whom? Basically, he says it is a Shraddaloho, Shraddavata. Shraddhalu Shabda is there. Alush Pratyaya is there. So, Dayaluhu, you must have heard Dayaluhu, like that, Shraddhaluhu. Dayaluhu means Dayavan. Shraddhaluhu, Shraddhavan. One who has a Shraddha. And Shastra Darshinaha. And who has studied, who has been exposed to the Shastra. He has not understood Mahavakya, that is fine. But he has understood at least Avantarvakya, etc. of the Upanishad. And so such a person, two qualifications have been shown here. Shraddhalu, well, there is a Shraddha in the Shastra, and one who has been exposed to the Shastra, and therefore he has no reservation to accept that there is a Brahman, etc. Brahma matram suvigneyam. Existence of Brahman is clearly grasped, which he will call paroksha jnana. So, but he definitely is not ready to accept it as a. So when Vidyaranya says this Advaita, so this is Paroksha Advaita Buddhi. I told you, and Aparoksha Dvaita Buddhi. So Aparoksha Dvaita Buddhi means he and Brahman are different. With Aparoksha means a Pratyaksha. Means he is very clear. There is Brahman. So that is clear in his mind, and he is different. I am Ahankara, I am individual, and there is Brahman from the Shastra. I have understood, I have no resistance. So Aparoksha Dvaita Buddhi means Pratyaksha Dvaita Buddhi. Follow. Pratyaksha Dvaita Buddhi means there is no doubt about that. And Paroksha Advaita Buddhi. But I and Brahman are one. Well, that is not clear. That is not immediate for the person. Paroksha. And as such also, this Aparoksha Dvaita Buddhi, we can take it a little differently also, which is here Acharya has taken. Aparoksha Dvaita Buddhi means Pratyaksha Dvaita Buddhi. So, Dvaitam has been established by Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means the senses, perception, right? Between a sense organ and the sense object, there is a contact which we call perception. Actually, sense organs also do not reveal Dvaitam, duality. But definitely, sense organs contact the sense objects, and with the help of the data of perception, the Buddhi decides definitely, immediately, that there is a Dvaitam. Natural, because even the colors and forms with the eyes you see, well, you ultimately, Buddhi says, well, this is of one color, this is of second color, this is of third color, this has a one form, this is a square, this is circle, this is this. So, point is, ultimately, the data generated by the sense organs through the contacting the objects of the world helps the mind to establish Dvaitam. So, even through ears you hear various sounds, and therefore definitely even the sense organ, ears definitely reveal the sound. So our ears do not decide that one is different from the other. It just reveals the sound. That's it. But then based on that, mind definitely says, well, everything is different. And therefore, Pratyaksha Dvaita Buddhi. Ultimately, Pratyaksha or perception helps to determine there is a duality. That kind of thing. And Advaita Paroksha Jnana. Definitely. So basically, to this person, well, Aham Brahmasmi, that Advaitam is Paroksha. He doesn't have a Aparoksha Jnanam of Brahman. So, Brahma Jnanam, Advaita Brahma Jnanam is not Pratyaksha, Paroksha for that person. And Dvaita Prapancha or Dvaita Jnanam is Pratyaksha. Okay? And that is generated through the senses. And Advaita Brahma Jnanam, which is Paroksha, generated through the Avantar Vakya of the Shastra. And both definitely are generated through the different means of knowledge. Avantar Vakya of the Shastra gives him Paroksha Advaita Jnanam, and the sense organs, etc., that means of those means of knowledge gives him a Pratyaksha Dvaita Jnana. Both are definitely from the different sources, both the knowledges. They don't exist in the same field. And therefore, definitely, one candidate can have both Jnanam. Dvaita Jnanam and Advaita Jnanam both are possible because they are generated by the different means of knowledge. Generally, Advaita Jnanam and Dvaita Jnanam cannot be in a one locus, but generated through the different sources, different means of knowledge, and therefore they can stay in one place. So this our candidate, who is this person, Avicharinaha. This person has both the knowledge. Dvaita Jnanam also is there through Pratyaksha, based on Pratyaksha, and he has Advaita Jnanam, but Paroksha through the Shastra. And such a person definitely can practice Upasana, by which the Paroksha Advaita Jnanam can be converted to Aparoksha Advaita Jnanam. When he understands Aparoksha Advaita Jnanam, that Pratyaksha Dvaita Jnanam or Aparoksha Dvaita Jnanam becomes Mithya. When he gains, please understand, Aparoksha Advaita Jnanam, when he gains after Upasana, now he accepts that I am Brahman. I, the Aparoksha, is Brahman. When you understand, then Aparoksha or Pratyaksha Dvaita Jnanam becomes false for the person. Then they cannot remain in one place. That's what it is. So Aparoksha Dvaita Buddhihi. Dvaita Jnanam, that is Pratyaksham. Here Aparoksha word means Pratyaksham. So sometimes in the Shastra words are interchangeable, Anyway, and the Paroksha Advaita Buddhi, Paroksha Advaita Jnanam. So definitely they Paroksha Advaita Buddhi Anut. Anut means, well, basically Nud Dhatu is there, means to destroy, to eliminate. Anut, it cannot destroy. So Aparoksha Dvaita Buddhi, Pratyaksha Dvaita Buddhi, and Paroksha Advaita Buddhi Anut. Means if you have a Paroksha Jnanam of Advaita, Brahman, that cannot be destroyed by the Pratyaksha Dvaita Jnana. Both have a different sources, and therefore both can remain in one person. So Buddhehe Anut. Buddhi Anut means Buddhehe Anut, Shashti Tatpurusha. Anut means, Nud means to destroy. And from that they have made word Nut, destroyer. It's a Kvip Pratyaya, like our Upanishad. Kvip Pratyaya in the sense of an agent. So Nut Dhatu means to destroy. And then you add Kvip, becomes Nut, a destroyer. Anut, well, not destroyer. Means they don't destroy each other. They remain in one locus. And that person who has to do now Nirguna Brahma Upasana. This is how it has been said. Then once he gains Aparoksha Jnanam, through Upasana the obstacle goes, when he gains Aparoksha Jnanam of Advaita, then definitely Aparoksha Dvaita Jnanam, Pratyaksha Dvaita Jnanam becomes Mithya. That's it. That's all it is. Verse 23. Aparoksha Shila Buddhir Naparoksheshatam Nudet Pratimadishu Vishnutve Kova Vipratipadyate. So Vidyaranya clarifies, with a great example, that how opposite things can coexist without hurting each other. And for that he gives the example. I would like to do it in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.